I run with that. I'm very outspoken on my Twitter accounts, and they wiped me clear, just a couple weeks ago, and it was over, playing music on the background of a video, but I'm not so sure that it wasn't, all the other things that I had said. Somebody went and looked at me.
What do you mean they wiped you clear? So for people that don't know Stephen Ellis, you have a pretty prolific Twitter feed, and you were just wiped off the map.
Yes, I was changed names all the time, but I was S. Ellis 1994 is what I started it at. My name's Stephen Ellis. I was hedge whisperer for a long time. I made fun of, being able to market as well as people that are paid to, it just was a joke. And I built up to, pretty substantial. It was, 11,000 or so followers. And I just got an email. So I couldn't see tweets anymore. And I looked on my email and it said that, we've suspended you because you played a Alicia Cara video 3 years ago on your Twitter. And it's been,
They reached back 3 years to put you off?
Yeah, it was 3 years. I know the song, so I know that the song was that old, and I didn't do it lately. But yeah, the tweet was at least 3 years old. Now I will say that they had gone over time and said, you played music in your video, we've deleted it. And so that had happened 7 or 8 times, and you were 12 hours, you were back on. So I guess they finally just said, we're going to keep getting not people, but it's music companies have a software, I think, that just, searches. And I'm pretty sure that, they just had enough complaints and said, well, that's enough of that. So I was gone. Wouldn't allow you to sign back in a new one using the same phone number and email anyway. Well, I don't have but one phone number. I wasn't going to use, it doesn't work to use your house phone. So I happened to have the restaurant account, which I'd created 3 or 4 years ago and hadn't used for the last 2, and just swiped my name and thing and started fresh with 300 people instead of 11,000.
So how did that feel? I mean, I often talk about my good friend, Dwayne Faber. I think he is one of the best people on Twitter. He's fantastic. He's hilarious. He's also somewhat philosophical, but I'm always poking him and I'm always saying, man, you're building barns on rented land. If you become big here, somebody else can take it away. But I don't actually know anyone personally that had been knocked off like you had. So now, knowing what you know, do you want to spend as much time building barns on this rented land?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I personally, being in a rural area, love any of the social media. I'm not a big Facebook fan. Facebook works wonderful for promoting the restaurant more so than a Twitter or a Instagram or something. Instagram might work well too, but it's not a picture-oriented thing, what I'm doing. I like Twitter because I get to meet people like you. I get to meet people like Faber and Jared McDaniel and all these people that are similar-minded. I won't ever say like-minded because the reason that we like each other is we don't think
Jared
exactly
McDaniel ain't like-minded to anybody.
Right. But we're similar-minded, and we found each other, in rural areas across the whole country where I would never have been able to bounce ideas off of them, And so I can't foresee not doing it. I don't know what will be the next thing that comes up that we'll be able to hook up with each other and not be, so I don't put a lid on, I guess is, nobody's telling you what to do, but you do have that fear that you say the wrong thing at the wrong time. And not only is that gone, then the restaurant gets attacked and that's gone, and then what do? You're dealing in a world where everybody is just looking for the next person to pile on.
What do you think is the reason for that? Because we didn't always live in a culture where people were prepared to take their grievance against you all the way out to the point when they can obliterate your business or your ability to generate income or even be employed by somebody. Why do you think this changed in society?
I think it's a power structure. We have, I'm talking to you as a farmer from rural Virginia, because I was able to be seen and heard on social media, you knew who I was. Same thing on the negative side. There's a whole lot of people that nobody has listened to anything that they've said their whole life. But yet they can go on social media and start 12 negative things, and one of them may stick and balloon into something bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden they are the center of attention for a little while that they haven't had their whole life. And you can't blame them for that. I wish it was more positive instead of negative, but I just think that we don't have a caste system, but we definitely have the people that have and the people that have not, and the have-nots are trying to figure out a way to be heard. And sometimes being the squeaky wheel gets you heard more than anything else that you can do.
Yeah, I'm always surprised. Like, I have people on Twitter that show up and like the only thing they want to do, it seems, is to hurt me in some way, right? Where you're just like, there's nothing productive about what you just said there. There's nothing insightful. There's nothing that makes me think more deeply. It's you trying to say to other people, look how big of an idiot this is. And to me, like, there have been people that I had held in like high regard, thought, you know, you seem like a person that's got your shit together. You're raising children. You seem sensible. You seem like a happy person that I would like to get around with. And then you see them tweet at you and you're like, well, that wasn't designed to make me feel good. Why would I engage with you if this is what you're trying to do? And it is very, very difficult for me to wrap my mind around.
Right. Back in the old days, we call it old Twitter, but people were very harsh. And if somebody came at you, you just literally took hour out of your day and tried to break them down into the smallest pieces you could break them down into, so that they would never do that again. And, you know, we used to do that all the time, and people quit messing with you, you know, because they're like, it's not worth it. I say one mean thing to him and he takes a half hour of his life to totally destroy everything I've ever put on social media everywhere. And so, you know, I guess it's that, armed defense, you know, is the best policy. If you were prepared to defend yourself, it wasn't as bad. But now you can't say anything back to people much. You know, it just pretty much you have to ignore them, and that's what they hate more than anything else, is being ignored. They're trying to get attention and a rise from you, and if you mute it or whatever, it goes away eventually.
The ignoring is real. So I had, and the power of it, even though it's so hard because you want to get that cathartic release of being like, zing, I just got you. But I had a professor in college, probably the best lesson I learned in all of my undergraduate studies is this guy. It's in Comms 101, like the basic class. And the professor is sitting in this lecture hall style, and he says, has anybody in here ever been cheated on? And so a couple of people kind of like meekly raise their hands, and he's like, and I'm guessing, you know, you were hurt and you had this fight and you told them how angry you were, and it didn't make you feel better, but it was kind of ended that whole thing. He said, if you ever get cheated on again and you really want to hurt that other person, don't say anything at all. Right. Because the human mind has to have closure. So somebody does something wrong to you and you reply back to them with anger, you've just now kind of completed that loop. But if somebody does something to you like a betrayal and you never have a response for them, you never give them that cathartic release, they will literally never get over it. They will have to go to counseling over this because the brain is not designed to live in a world where you don't give people feedback. And I think that that's true. And the only downside to doing this strategy on Twitter is I find that some people get so wound up that you've ignored them that now they go like chimpanzee crazy and they're just like throwing things constantly. Thanks for checking out this podcast short. If you like this interview, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and hit that bell so you always get notified about this podcast. And if you're really interested in conversations like this, you may want to consider joining the Articulate Ventures Network. To find out more, go to network.articulate.ventures.